Hey everyone, this is Adam and Kathy, the Vegan Preppers, and welcome to our latest couple chat. Vegan prepper. Vegan prepper. So I thought it might be kind of fun this time to open up with a little garden update, so let's go ahead and head outside. Here is my Mexican blue elderberry bush. It looks like we might be about to get our first actual small crop of Mexican blue elderberries. They're not as medicinal as the Sambucus nigra, the black elderberry, the one that when they say elderberries, that's what people are talking about. But they are still medicinal and I can still use them. I have collected elder flowers off of this bush in past years, but this year I've decided to see if we'll actually get elderberries if I let the flowers go. So my plan is to go ahead and probably cover these pretty soon so that hopefully we get some elderberries that I can make some syrup out of, and that would be amazing. And also over here you can see the bed is a bit wilty and sad. It definitely needs some water. The saddest thing in the bed is the potatoes. They are dying back. I'm not sure if that means, I don't know, we might not have been getting enough water to them, whatever. Regardless, I feel like I've used enough time. I think they're close to the end. The dying back might be indicating that they're ready, or it might just be indicating that they're just not doing well. Regardless, since this is my only garden bed this year, I'm gonna go ahead and just call it and dig these plants up today, see what we got, redo the bed, plant any of the plants that I might accidentally dig up, and then get ready to start seeding in the stuff that will actually do well during the heat. And so we need a mulch and all of that, but you can see everything is doing pretty well except for those potatoes, but it's wilty right now. So basically I'm gonna get some water on here and these guys are gonna perk right up. And over here our grapes are coming in pretty strong. Last year we were harvesting grapes in June, and so hopefully this year it'll be the same. We'll be harvesting all these amazing grapes. So many grapes. I cannot believe how many grapes I'm getting off this vine this year. Actually I have 2 vines and the grapes are everywhere. I was really sad that I didn't get out here to trim them, but it seems like they're not really suffering too much for it, and it looks like we've got actual little grapes forming now. And so hopefully very soon we will have ourselves a nice, rich, amazing harvest of grapes coming in. Very excited about that. All right, they are dug up and we'll see what we got. Okay, here's what we got, and definitely I could have left them longer. I think though they would not have, I don't know if it would have gone well if I had left them longer. That single pot in the middle of the 4 plants, I'm trying some new passive watering techniques. That was not enough water for all 4 plants. I kind of thought it wouldn't be, but I just wanted to see how far I can push this thing. So I was trying the passive watering as well as trying growing potatoes for the first time. This was my first time. So clearly I dug them up before they were ready, but we still got some relatively nice sized little potatoes considering I only planted 3 potatoes, probably about this size. One of them I ended up cutting in half so that I could get two spots in the ground. I feel like that's still pretty fun and pretty good. The largest potatoes were directly next to the pot. So that tells me next time I do this, I need to install more pots to make sure they're getting more water. Overall though, I know it's possible, but I definitely need that space in my bed for other things moving forward. I don't want to dedicate another month to potatoes in my bed. So I've learned a lot and I'm considering it a success. Just another quick shot outside. The plants have perked up quite a bit after their little bit of water, and then also the sun has gone down far enough that it's no longer directly on here. So yeah, they're perking up and looking nice again. I lied, we didn't actually go outside. We did earlier, so that was footage from before. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that. I'm actually kind of happy with that little potato harvest.
Yeah, it's cool.
It is pretty neat. Like, so it's neat to know that it can work, but I think I did already mention I'm down to just 1 bed. I used to have 8.
Yep.
I used to have 8 garden beds that size. I'm down to only 1. I don't need to get into it. Basically, we lost our source of vegan soil that we used to have. It was a locally created vegan soil, and I guess it kind of disappeared during the pandemic, and so we undid our backyard and we lost access to that soil, so we weren't able to rebuild it back as big as it was before. We were only able to salvage enough that was not completely infested with Bermuda grass in order to fill just one garden bed. So that's kind of what we're working with this year. Yeah. It's very interesting, but we'll just keep moving forward no matter what happens. You just keep moving forward with what you have, and hopefully we'll find another source pretty soon, and or get our composting figured out to hopefully help us along with that. Do a little bit of hugelkultur maybe. Like there's a lot of stuff we're thinking, but actually right now I'm pretty happy to have just one bed. It feels like that's as much as I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
We're experimenting with the passive watering and the pots. So that's kind of, I'm using this also as a learning period to learn what's possible with the passive watering of those pots in the ground. It's from a book. I will link the book down below, How to Garden with Less Water. And so I am hoping to go ahead and purchase 3 more pots and lids for the other spot in the big open half of the bed that's open now. It's ready for 4 more pots to go in, and some seeds. Actually, this week I'll be planting some seeds, so go ahead and look for that. But yeah, there you go. Garden update. Hopefully that was fun.
I had fun.
You did? Good.
That's our first time with potatoes, so that's pretty cool.
It is really cool, and like I said, it's like I learned a lot. Like I was experimenting. I mean, I told them, but I didn't tell you. Like part of my experiment was to see if that one pot would water all 4, and it didn't really. Like it needed more pots in there to water those plants. But it's the same kind of thing that I ran into with growing sweet potatoes. I grew sweet potatoes for 2 or 3 years, and every time I did it, I was like impatient to get back into that bed and grow something else. It takes a long time for those crops to go, so
yeah,
I would like to have some dedicated space for that, but it's hard. It's hard to decide that you're gonna commit that much of your garden to something for that long. Yeah, I don't know. If we were doing it like we had to, like to survive, it would probably be more worth it, because potatoes and sweet potatoes are like higher in calorie, more,
right.
You know, that would be a bigger deal of a crop. So we would grow regular potatoes in the cooler months and sweet potatoes during the hot months, and we'd have kind of a year-round, we'd figure out how to do a year-round thing. But anyway, yeah. I am still learning on certain things, even though I've been gardening now for, how long has it been?
7 or 8 years. 7
or 8 years. There's still things I haven't tried before, and so yeah, anyway, just keep growing.
Potatoes is one of those things that initially didn't really seem like a good idea, because they're relatively cheap, and they take up a lot of room. But with all the issues over the last couple of years, potato quality and cost, quality's gone down and cost has gone up. We're getting whole batches of potatoes that aren't very good. So doing it yourself seemed like a better idea.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to plant them earlier in the season this coming year. So we'll see. Hopefully I can actually plant some of those that I just pulled out of the ground. That would be kind of cool. But anyway, all right. All right, so you had very interesting topic earlier we were kind of talking about, and I just thought it was really cool. So you can go ahead and talk about that.
I was watching a video last night about stealth camping. I've watched a few of these videos. It's basically about camping in spots you're not necessarily supposed to camp. And it's not the point of breaking the law. It's camping in a way that nobody can tell that you're there, which could be a valuable skill in certain situations. But the video last night, he was, the guy's name is Steve Wallace, if you want to look him up on the YouTubes. He's got a bunch of videos and a bunch of views. But he was camping in a roundabout.
Oh, we can link the video down below for you guys. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
He was camping in a roundabout, and that in itself was less interesting than how he facilitated getting in there. And I just thought it was a good example of hiding in plain sight. Basically, he went to a hardware store and he bought a bright orange like construction worker vest, and he got an orange trash bag, and he put all of his gear in the orange trash bag, and then as conspicuously as possible walks out in the roundabout. And this particular roundabout had a bunch of trees in it and some bushes, so there was actually a nice spot to hide in the middle of it. But getting to it is a reasonably busy area, so in a spot that you shouldn't necessarily be just as a guy. So he basically made himself look like he was on a cleanup crew, and like I said, put all his gear in his orange bag like he's picking up trash, and then just waits for a car to go by. And once it was clear, he just tucked into the bushes, and just disappeared. And so yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting that he made himself as conspicuous as possible to be hidden.
Yeah.
So
we were talking, it's kind of like we've had conversations about the gray man concept versus a concept I thought of where it's something like that, where it's like you're noticeable to the point that you get noticed, but then also like dismissed almost as soon as you're noticed, which could be, maybe that's also a little bit about what gray man is about, but it's just sort of a different thought process. Or maybe he did gray man in that situation.
Right.
Maybe that's basically exactly what it was.
Yeah. He didn't look conspicuous because he belonged there.
Right.
Yeah, and I think so much of the gray man is, it depends on your situation as to what gray man is. It's not just like wearing plain clothes. Because if you're at a heavy metal concert, and we actually went to a heavy metal concert, and there was this dude in there who was not gray manning at all. He was very obvious. He was wearing like a 3-piece suit and a fedora, and he looked super slick, but he did not look like he fit at the heavy metal show. You remember this guy?
He was very noticeable, yeah.
Very tall, slender man in this just very conspicuous outfit for where he was. If he'd been at a wedding, he probably would have gray man there, but he didn't gray man at a metal concert.
Yeah, it's funny.
But the dude with a bunch of metal in his face and black eyeliner and chains hanging off his clothing, you didn't even notice him because
it's like everywhere.
Because he just fit right in.
I wonder if we fit in at all.
I don't know. Probably not.
I don't know. I mean, not everybody looks insane.
No,
we went to see Bloodywood because we had to, because it was Bloodywood. Okay, and if you don't know who Bloodywood is, look them up. If you like metal, look them up. Actually, even if you don't like metal, you might still like them. I'm gonna link actually the song that made me fall in love with them. I'll link it down below. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So but yeah, actually, I was realizing you didn't explain the gray man concept, and you probably should define that, because I'll take way too many words to do it.
Gray man is basically making yourself disappear without putting on camouflage. It's making yourself not noticed. Completely fitting into your surrounding in such a way that if somebody had to remember, looking back on the situation, hey, did you see this guy? Nobody would remember you because you were so uneventful that you just disappear. So it's like being gray in a black and white movie.
Yeah.
You just blend in.
Yeah.
So, and it is very situational. But in most situations, having things like a tattoo, that didn't show. Having a tattoo is...
Mine didn't show either.
Having a tattoo is like anti-gray man because it's a notable thing. Having big ear gauges, even a really big beard, in a lot of situations makes you notable. And in the gray man concept, you want to be not notable. So
yeah, like I probably would need to ditch my nose ring.
Yeah,
again,
it's
situational,
notable.
but yeah, it's noticeable, so I can stick one of the plugs in that hides it. So
right.
That was actually, honestly, I do love my nose ring. The thing is, I love tattoos and I love piercings. But I haven't gone as far with any of it as I've wanted to, because I always wanted to make sure I kept my options open. I mean, I would love it if everybody in the world could be more accepting of people who just look different. But honestly, of course, the truth is that people aren't. And if I were ever, to really need to re-enter the workforce, it was my desire to be able to do so. So I have 4 tattoos, and every single one of them is easily coverable if I should so choose. And then when I was thinking of piercings, I wanted like lip, eyebrow, nose, or whatever. But I actually ended up going with the septum because of how easy it is to hide. You just have, if you imagine half of a square, that's like the shape of just this little acrylic thing that I can put right in there, and then you would never know that my nose was pierced, and so it's fully hideable, and so that's why I chose that one. But yeah.
I used to have big ear gauges, but they have since gone away.
Yeah, you let them shrink back down, so
yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just basically blending in by being uneventful.
Right. Yeah.
So this guy was doing that in a weird way because throwing an orange vest on is like, look at me, look at me. But it says, I'm supposed to be here, so I'm not notable.
So yeah, you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we go, oh, there's some dude in the roundabout. It's some guy's working in the roundabout. You don't even really think about it.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be there.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
It's like a dude standing in the freeway. If there's a dude standing in the freeway, that's wrong. But if it's a dude standing in the freeway with cones and an orange vest, he's a construction worker. You don't really think about him. You don't notice what he looked like. You don't pay much attention to him. You just keep driving.
Yeah.
Just some guy standing in the freeway, you would notice him.
Right. Yeah. It is really interesting. But yeah, we'll definitely link that video down below. And again, we're not advocating breaking the law as far as your camping. But I 100% agree with Adam that it's a really interesting concept and definitely a nice set of skills to master, being able to camp without people seeing you camping.
Right. And developing the eye. And he's talking about this video. He just noticed it, and then he decided to check it out. But developing an eye for those hide spots, and he camps in all kinds of weird places. One of his videos, he camps next to a police station.
I think there was a video too. I don't think it was that guy, but I'm pretty sure one of the other guys you were watching, and this was a while ago. And so if we can find this video, I'll post it. But some guy that was stealth camping in winter. Does that sound familiar?
I don't know.
No? Okay. I'll try to find something. But I mean, just, yeah, like how can you camp safely with no fire and keep yourself warm and things like, yeah, these are things to keep in mind. Of course, not for, like, we don't really worry about that so much here, but.
No, it's 50.
I know. It's like, my fingers are literally blue and breaking off. It's 47 degrees. That's how we are. But yeah. Anyway, we live in central Arizona for anybody who doesn't know.
It's hot here all the time.
Yeah. Today was our first 100-degree day, as far as I know, of the year.
Yep.
The first 100-degree day? Yeah.
It was.
So, yep, we're back to it.
A week before average.
Yep.
Yay.
Oh well. It is what it is. Hey, I'm not allowed to complain about the heat. I have a very strict rule. I do not complain about it. I talk about it and how to get through it. And, it is difficult for sure, but I'm not allowed to complain about it. I actually blocked someone on Facebook this morning. Because it was this same person that I was telling you about. I think I've told you about. It's like she complains non-stop about how hot it is. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. It's just one of those areas of my life where, okay, it does bother me, but I am attempting to change my response to something that I can't change, right? I want to be a positive person who, and maybe if I'm not always positive, I am at least not complaining about it all the time. You know what I mean? Like just put your head down and get through it. It sucks for everyone. Like, anyway, so I snoozed her for 30 days because I was like, I can't. It's ridiculous. It's like, come on. It's just 100. That's all it was today. Is just 100. This is just the start. Okay. Maybe when it's like 118, 119, we'll let some slip out. But like for now, no.
Yeah.
Just get through it and it's fine. And it's like, because you're deciding in advance, I'm going to be upset about this day, like before it even happens. And that's just, it's not a pleasant place to be, and it's not a pleasant place for yourself or for the people around you. So yeah, I'm trying really hard to start getting into that frame of mind, and I have to kind of protect that frame of mind. And so yeah, I did snooze her, and that's fine. She's allowed to say what she wants to say, but I am also allowed to tweet it out. So yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Could be a whole video subject, but it is interesting how we attach emotion to certain circumstances, like hot and cold. Like, do hot and cold need to have emotions attached to them?
Yeah.
Or do we just assign emotions to them?
Yeah.
Can we just experience them without it being a positive or a negative? Like, we just can experience it. I don't know.
Maybe, I guess, because there's some sort of, there's a difficulty involved, right? And for the most part, we, as a human race, don't like difficulty. We seek the easiest way, But yeah. He's laughing because he's not like that. You are, okay?
I was laughing because I went trail running this morning in sandals. So, like, definitely not the easiest way.
Yeah. He likes to challenge himself, though. But I think it's different because you're not just like, I want to make this harder on myself because I'm a masochist. You're like,
right. You're
like, what is the next thing that I can accomplish? What's the next notch in my belt? Kind of like,
right.
You're after that next achievement. So it's not, so there's, I guess, a good thing about potentially seeking difficulty on purpose, because when you seek it on purpose, maybe, and you have more control over it, you're making yourself stronger.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, the difficulty, the general difficulty of living in extreme heat, it's not pleasant. It's not the best. And yeah, I'm not allowed to complain about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. So yeah, I feel a little bad, but at the same time I'm like, no, because it's like when you're trying to retrain your mind, sometimes you have to shut certain things off, and that actually might be a perfect segue into our last topic.
Yeah.
If you were done with the stealth camping.
Yeah. I didn't have a lot. Yeah, I thought it was interesting, the whole thing, but yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. I agree. I'm glad you brought it up. But yeah, we're kind of talking about fear a little bit again. We talk about fear on the channel, and it's just like one of those things when you're trying to retrain your mind, trying to maintain a level of peace and sanity when everything is going on around you that's crazy. And it isn't about, like sticking your head in the sand and making, pretending that nothing is happening. Sorry, I'm distracted. There's a lizard on a stump.
Yeah, he's been going over there for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know. He's been there for a long time, and I keep being distracted. So, like, we're filming in front of the window again during the day, and so we've had this happen before. Like, we get distracted by all of the wildlife in our yard. Like, it's really fun. Anyway, but yeah, you're trying to maintain a certain emotional state, because when you enter into, I mean, you all know this, but it's not only because I feel like God tells us to be at peace no matter what. I feel like he does it for our own good. For one, we're not ratcheting up our stress, increasing blood pressure, flooding our system with cortisol, all kinds of stress hormones, putting our body in a constant fight or flight state, which is bad, a very bad thing for our body to maintain long term. It ends up being bad physically, but I think it's also bad, mentally, right? Like our pastor at church this weekend was just talking about that place of stress and anxiety, and how when you enter into that place of fear and stress, it's like the decision-making part of your brain gets shut off. And so it is really important. He was talking about how you always look around for what you have. Like, what do I have? There is provision in every circumstance. And it reminds me of what we always say in our family. We don't always, and again, it's not that you're not allowed to have a feeling, and it's not that you're not allowed to say this is hard, but you don't stop at, I can't. You might have this moment where you're like, I just can't. And you have to wake up a little bit and look around and say, okay, what can I do? That's a better question. What can I do in this situation? I guess it's even like with our garden, right?
Yep. It's
like, I can't redo my whole garden. Well, I can do one bed, so I'm going to work as hard as I can at maximizing the usage of that bed. Yep. Which is, again, part of why I dug up those potatoes, because it's like, I got to maximize the use here and plant more different things. And so, yeah, learning and like, what can I do, and trying to stay out of the stress and the anxiety and the fear. And so, yeah, there's a lot of fear going around. I'm getting frustrated, I will say. And I was talking to you about this, that I've actually watched, I'm not going to name names because I'm not here to criticize or throw anybody under the bus, but I've watched 3 channels that I used to watch, and I don't watch anymore, where their subscriber base, just in the last year or so, has like tripled. And now it could be that people are more interested now in hearing about prepping, but the thing is, these channels have shifted where they virtually never talk about anything practical anymore. They talk basically nothing but what's going on in the world, the drama, the intrigue, and all of that. And while it is important to be informed to a certain degree, just talking about it nonstop is like, I think it's kind of unhealthy, especially the way that they tend to talk about it, I feel is pretty unhealthy. And so I have mad respect. I don't know if I told you, we have an invader. I don't know if I told you already, hun, but recently City Prepping, Chris over at City Prepping has said that he is actually shifting the focus of his channel to practical stuff.
Nice. Even
though he knows it means less revenue. And it's like, wow, that is so admirable. I very much admire City Prepping and his whole channel. So that's a really great one to watch. But yeah, it's like determined to keep this place safe. But I admit I've been caught up in it, right? A little bit, like trying to brainstorm, how could I add that kind of content to the channel without compromising my feelings on it? Like, and maybe there is a solution that I haven't seen yet, but I can't start talking about a bunch of stuff that makes people afraid.
Right.
I can't do that.
That's not what we do here.
No. So I don't know. But I gotta say, it is tempting a little bit. And it's not like I wouldn't have things to say. I definitely have some opinions. He knows I have opinions. But it's really hard. And I don't know. I just want to help people. And so talking about fear, I don't know. One of the things in particular that keeps coming up, it seems, on a lot of these channels is this like idea that literally everything we're facing right now is completely unprecedented. That like this is something that nobody has faced before in history. And I guess maybe some of the technical specifics, that may be true.
Yeah. And
also maybe technically, specifically, a lot of us specifically have not faced the prospect of a world war. You know, like the last world war happened like 80 years ago. And so we are maybe generationally facing something that our generation has not dealt with, right? So you maybe could say that. But I feel like the idea, and weather events and all kinds of stuff, the idea that there's literally no precedence for, I guess, the kind of difficulty that people are facing now, I feel is just a completely false one. She might be about to play with those BBs. Oh no. Oh yeah, she is. Just a second. And so I'll get a little clip at the end of what I'm talking about. Adam dumped a whole bunch of BBs into this old frame, like with an acrylic thing that we have, so that she could like have sensory play thing going on. Anyway, but so the idea that this is so unprecedented, and I feel like it's just not true. Like throughout human history, we've faced death from all kinds of places. Natural disasters, invading armies, like it's like always been a thing.
Yeah.
Sickness, none of this is really too new. And it's funny, I don't know how comforting it is, but I find comfort in the book of Ecclesiastes, 1 verse 9. That which has been is what will be, that which is done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Then I guess I'll go ahead and read 10 and 11. Is there anything of which it may be said, see, this is new? It has already been in ancient times before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of things that are to come by those who will come after. People are always going to forget the lessons they learned. They're going to have to relearn lessons over and over again. Like, I don't know. It's just, I guess, I don't know if it is much of a comfort, but it's like, I don't know. It's like people ratcheting up the fear, like, oh, this is also super brand new.
I think it is comforting to know that this has always been going on, because we're still here.
Right.
You know, humans are survivors, and we're capable of more than fearmongers would have us believe.
Right.
You know, we're capable of a lot of resilience and strength, even if we haven't experienced those things necessarily. It doesn't mean that we can't deal with them if they were to happen. God forbid. We will press through. We will get creative, and we will get stronger mentally and physically to deal with everything that comes up. Our bodies are designed to adapt. Our brains are designed to adapt. So knowing that people have been putting up with crap since the world has been a thing, it means we're going to keep putting up with crap for as long as the world exists, but we'll make it through. So.
Yeah, it is, you know, and I guess I might have a slightly different perspective because I have kind of harrowing survival stories, like in my relatively recent family line. I guess like the super shortened version of just kind of this insane story, honestly, of what my family endured. It was my mother's father's family, originally from Poland, and they were I guess some kind of highfalutin bigwigs in Poland, and they got gathered up first by the Russians and taken into Siberia, where they were in the Gulag. Actually, my Jaju, my grandfather, was born in the Gulag in Siberia, and then at a certain point they escaped Siberia on foot and made their way back to Poland. It took them 2 years to do that with a baby. Like, you hear the stories of like talk about stealth camping, right? They would stop at night, and if they caught like a bird or whatever, they'd, you know, this is not a very vegan thing, but come on, they'd kill it and they'd eat it raw because they didn't want to get caught like by lighting a fire. And then by the time they finally got back to Poland, they got themselves reset up. Then that was about the time that World War II started, or maybe it started a little while after. They got rounded up by the Nazis and tossed into Auschwitz #1. So Auschwitz #2 is the famous one, but there were 3 total. The horrifically infamous, I should say, the infamous one, where over 2.5 million Jewish people were killed. But in Auschwitz #1 was where over 950,000 Polish Catholics were killed, and that is where my family was at that time. And then they got liberated, and then I guess they were done with Poland. They hightailed it to America, actually changed their last name so that they would not get rounded up again, because at this point they had some real fear attached to that, because of course they would, and just became successful. It's like the American dream immigrant story. What an amazing opportunity this country presented to them. It's an incredible story of survival when you think about it. And actually there are also stories like kind of before they had gotten rounded up by the Nazis, that it was like the stuff that's going on in Ukraine right now. They were surviving with no access to food, no access to anything, having to go out during the day and scrounge for food what they could and come back at night, you know, and hide. And, you know, there's all kinds of stuff going on, and they got through it, and they came over here. And then eventually my grandfather grew up and met my grandma, and I ended up being here as a result of all of that. And so when I face difficulty in my life too, I do often think about that. It's like, how hard is my life really? You know, like thinking about what they went through and the kind of sterner stuff that people can be made of. And it's like you kind of find out what you're made of when you face difficulty. And I think it's possible that a lot of us are stronger than we think. And people do survive. Of course, people don't survive, but people do also. So it's like, you don't know. It could be you. Why not? Like, instead of focusing on the horrible possibility, why not focus on the good possibility that like you could make it. Like, you could be fine.
Yep. Even
if the whole world goes to crap, you could be fine. Now, of course, you have a better chance if you're more prepared, but you know, it's just like, I don't know, you don't have to get caught up in fear. And then I guess the final thing I would like to say before this gets too long, even though it's already long, is, for me personally, as a Christian, I think about fear. If I allow myself to enter into stress and fear over situations, and of course I'm human. I've shared before, when we start entering summer, I start getting nervous, and that's something I have to deal with every day. Trying to make sure we've got our water prepared, we've got everything done, but it's like, if we suddenly lost power, if we suddenly lost access to water in this place during the summer, like, I don't even want to think about it. So, but I have thought about it, and I've thought about what to do for those situations, and we've prepared for it, which makes me feel a lot better. But I do admit that I'm a little bit on alert and a little bit on edge kind of the entire summer. Like, I'm waiting. I'm waiting to spring into action if something should happen. But, you know, try not to enter into fear, because I feel like the second we are afraid, we're putting whatever the thing that we're afraid of, we're putting it on a pedestal. Like, I'm saying, I revere this. I am honoring this. It's like I'm worshiping a false god, really. It's like I am giving this my awe and my respect and my honor. Really, that's what fear is. I'm giving something. It's like the opposite of faith, but I'm feeding that into this thing that is not worthy of that from me. And it's also, I've shifted that away from God to the thing that I'm afraid of. And so thinking about that too helps me, like, okay, shift back my focus. My awe and my honor and my respect and my reverence is going to be for God. I'm going to lift him up above everything that may be going on, and trust him. And then ultimately, of course, too, we have peace that even if something does happen, even if we don't make it, well, I mean, we make it to heaven, so we're fine. Like, so we're still fine. So it's like, you know, we have a little bit of peace there. So I don't know. Do you have thoughts on that? Or
No more thoughts. I think
no?
well stated.
Oh, good. Thank you. 说得快. Well said. Sorry, that's Chinese.
I haven't got to that lesson yet.
No, okay. Yeah, we're both learning Chinese. It's actually funny. It has nothing to do with the stuff going on. It's been a little over a year for me. I've been learning Chinese. And it started originally because I watch C-dramas, and I really love C-dramas. And I wanted to be able to watch without having to watch, so that I could, like, do my business, like my jewelry making and stuff for my business, without having to watch, because I'm sick of having to only find English shows to watch or to have on in the background while I'm doing my work. I'd like to be able to play a Chinese one and not have to actually read it. That was the reason I started learning Chinese. And then it was so funny that it was like shortly after that, kind of all the real stuff started going on. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's good to know Chinese too. So for other reasons. But yeah, it's just funny. That is literally the reason I started learning Chinese. Yeah.
I started learning French, which is not terribly useful in America right now. Anyways,
Yeah.
I don't think. I guess maybe if I move to Canada.
Yeah,
maybe.
say if we get closer to Canada and we start. But yeah. Anyway, I guess that's your line though. You're originally, like, your line. It was the French, Irish, and French, and they came down through Canada.
Yep.
And so, yeah.
Eh. Bonjour, eh?
Top of the bonjour. I don't know. Whatever. I'm so dumb. Okay, sorry guys. Okay. All right. I guess we should wrap up.
True.
Before I say any other dumb things. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully you got something good out of that. As always, talk to us down in the comments and let us know what you thought about anything. If you have anything to add, if you'd like to talk about anything. We're gonna go pay attention to Sage because she needs attention apparently. We didn't give her enough yet today. Oh my gosh. Okay. So as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. See you guys later. Bye. All right. This is the little sensory thing that Adam set up for Sage with his jar of BBs from the garage.